Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics, and this is my review of the Trijicon Accupower 3-9 variable mag optic. Trijicon Accupower 3-9. It's a second focal point optic with a 1-inch main tube, which is a little bit different from the other Accupower offerings. They all have 30mm main tubes, but it actually mirrors the magnification optic offerings that you get from the Accupoint side of the house. Second focal plane, like I said, 3 reticle options. You can get an MOA crosshair, a mil square, or a duplex reticle. Adjustments are 1/4 MOA / 0.10 mil. And the eye relief is right in there between 3.5 to 3.7 as quoted in the literature that comes with the optic. And I found that to be about right. One thing I do really like about it is once you get your consistent cheek weld and you find exactly where the eye relief needs to be and you kind of develop that intuitive snap to on it, even going from 3 to 9 magnification or from 9 back to 3 magnification or somewhere in between when you're on the optic and you have your cheek weld, it doesn't create a lot of shadowing effect that's going to cause you to make some micro adjustments in your cheek weld like I've seen with some other optics. Now some may ask what the advantage of a 3 to 9 optic is. 9 is a weird maximum magnification for some people. They figure 10 is kind of that benchmark. What I really appreciated about the 3 to 9 is when I worked for Department of Defense, I used a fixed 4-power ACOG. It's fixed 4-power, non-adjustable. But I got used to using that fixed 4-power even in close quarters. Even though it was a 4-power magnification, I was still able to deliver accurate and quick fire in close quarters. And then that fixed 4 allowed me to reach out a little bit further and hit targets with a little bit higher degree of precision further away. This optic allows me to do the same exact thing. I can still use it on its 3 setting in a CQB setting, and then if I need to reach out and get precision accuracy on a target or a threat, I can instantly grab that foxtail and go to 9, and I'd be able to get that more precise hit. That was something I would have definitely appreciated in an ACOG setting, something a little more compact. Obviously that technology is not really there, but the 3 to 9 definitely fits that role really, really well. If you were to use this as a patrol rifle optic, you can train and practice and get used to using that 3-power magnification for your close quarters, or maybe 4-power for your close quarters, depending on really what you want, and then still retain the ability to reach out and touch something. Some people say the 1 to 4 is the way to go for a patrol rifle optic, and I gotta say, like, that's gonna be an issue of preference. I think 1 to 4 is an awesome optic, but 4-power is 4-power. You still can't reach out as far as precise as you can with something like this where it's 3 to 9. Would I like to see a 1 to 9 or a 1 to 10? That would be awesome, but again, technology's not really there. No one's really offering that. So I think as far as occupationally speaking, the 3 to 9 would be a really excellent choice for someone who works in a rural area or even in an urban area where you're hard-tuned and you spend a lot of time training in your intermediate and close distance ranges on 3-power, but still retain the ability to reach out and touch something further away. Illuminator Reticle is a standard feature. You got 11 power settings. It comes in green or red. Obviously you can order it either way. I don't consider an Illuminator Reticle an actual necessity depending on what it is you do. If you like law enforcement, you work nights, might be a good idea to have one. If you work in an environment where you have a reasonable expectation to go from daylight right into darkness or twilight, indoors, parking garage, kind of things like that, the Illuminator Reticle can definitely be helpful, especially if you're looking from the light into the dark or your target's on a dark background or something like that. The Illuminator Reticle can definitely come in handy in those situations. Also, it has a exposed or to say a built-up foxtail, which I really appreciate. Most scopes, some scopes come magnification wise, they come with, you know, your adjustment ring. It's usually going to be just in this area, but it's usually just an itty bitty little nub, whereas the Accupower has a considerable amount of meat on it that you can definitely get your thumb, your index finger on there and throw it really easy without having to fight with it. Another cool thing, kind of a small thing, more of a preferential thing, is I didn't feel like I needed to break this ring in. I know I've had some older Leupold optics in the past where until I had, you know, a couple dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 5 dozen, however many rotations on that wheel, that adjustment wheel, it didn't really free up and move easily. Whereas this one, right out of the box, really easy, really, I mean, you can be on the gun and make your adjustments no problem, not really a big deal, and I really like that a lot. Reticle. Back to the reticle, 31 hours battery life at max brightness. I think Trijicon can do better. They probably will do better in the future. 31 hours isn't a whole lot of time, but again, it's not something you necessarily need to leave on. And in between each setting, you have an off setting. So if you turn it to 11, you go left or right 1 and it turns it off. If you're setting it on 8, whatever, so you can maintain it in that reticle setting you want instead of having to dial it all the way up to where you need it. You can go to where you need it and just go 1 off in the reticle power. So dislikes. Do not like the captured turrets, just like I said on the other Accupower reviews that I did. I like the ability to reach forward and make my adjustments. These turrets, you can run them without the caps, obviously, but these turrets are not designed for that. They're not durable, or as durable as an exposed turret would be. So is that a big deal? Not really, especially on the 1 to 4 offerings. Again, it wasn't that huge of a deal, because in a 1 to 4, you're probably not going to do a lot of dialing of dope. But on a 3 to 9 with that 9 maximum magnification, I have the ability to fine tune something. If I know my distance, or if I can, you know, use my reticle to estimate my distance, and I want to dial in my shot as opposed to holding over, I'd like to have the ability to do that without having to remove these caps. So I think in the future it would be nice if the Accupower line was offered with either captured or exposed turrets. That'd be really great. But again, not a huge deal. Holdovers are still there, especially with the reticle. You can still do holdovers. But I would like the ability, or would at least like to see the option, where I can order this optic with the exposed turrets. Accuracy on an optic, it's only going to be as accurate as the rifle you put it on. I put it on my PWS, my Mark 1, my piston gun, because I know this gun, depending on what ammo I put in, is going to shoot MOA to sub-MOA consistently. For this review process, right around 600 rounds, fired S&B 55 grain, which is a consistently accurate round. It doesn't give me sub-MOA, but it's going to get me right in that 1 MOA area, which is what I need. And mainly when I'm looking at accuracy, I got to factor in durability. Will this scope maintain at 0 if it takes some knocks, takes some hits? I did drop testing with all the other Accupower optics I reviewed. There's no reason why I wouldn't do it with this one. I don't necessarily have to, because Trijicon's already known for their durability. But if you're watching a review kind of in the market for a new optic, you kind of want to see it can handle it. Instead of doing a bunch of traditional drops, those more common drops like you'd see, you know, you lean the gun against your truck when you get to the range and it falls over. Or you take it out of your patrol vehicle at the end of your shift and it falls over. Or any other situation. The rifle eventually is going to take a hit. Is it going to maintain the 0? Instead of doing a bunch of those low drops, I decided to kind of put it on an accelerated schedule and drop it off a balcony a few times. 12 to 14 foot balcony, that's a really serious hit for any optic to take. Is it going to maintain the 0? Now for target setting, if a rifle takes a fall, you can just go back to the range and check and make sure it maintains at 0. But in a law enforcement military setting, the rifle may take a fall and you don't have the time to check the 0 before the rifle's actually potentially needed to be used in a real world situation. The last thing I'd ever want to do is have a guy, you know, pull it out of the patrol rifle or pull it out of the patrol vehicle, it takes a knock, and then him wonder, like, is this rifle still zeroed because I might need it in the near future to save someone's life or stop the bad guy, so to speak. So that's important. If you're using it occupationally, you want to know that the optic is durable enough to maintain the 0 in the event that it takes a hit, and you don't have time to check that 0 before you need to put it into use. So for the accuracy, consistency, durability, went ahead and threw it off the balcony 3 times. I shot a group before the drop tests, and then I'll show you a group I shot after the drop test to see if it maintained that consistency. Accuracy's there, I think. Accuracy is very subjective. It's very personal. Everybody's going to shoot differently under different conditions. Did the first group, 3 drop tests off the balcony, and then shot the second group, and I think you can see that the 0 is still there. It maintained at 0, which is great, but it's, you know, at this point I kind of expected it. Trijicon makes a really great product. I consider this to be a really high quality entry-level optic. Entry level? Yeah, entry level. Me personally, entry level for me starts here. It doesn't start at $135 or $96 or $48 at a gun show at a pawn shop. Or at Walmart or where have you. Those optics are fine for people who are just going to use their rifle for bench rest shooting or something like that. But if I'm choosing a patrol rifle optic, a home defense optic, anything like that, I'm going to spend the money because things cost what they cost for a reason. You know, you spend more money to get a better product. I mean, there are better products. There are degrees of products. You're not going to get the same degree of performance out of a $100 optic as you get out of a $900 optic. $900 is a lot of money, so hopefully it's money well spent. And I think if you're going to spend the money on an optic and you're looking at the Accupower line, it's definitely something to consider. The 3-9 I think is a great optic. It's a little bit different from the other offerings because it's got that 1-inch body, but again, 1-inch rings are not hard to find. Get yourself a quality, solid one-piece mount. You know, quick detach if you want. Would it be my only optic? I don't know. I'm still a huge red dot fan because, you know, most of the time I'm going to use a rifle. It's going to be closer than further away. But I do appreciate that the 3-9 exists, and I would definitely consider it as a patrol rifle optic if I worked in an area where my threats might be a little further away. I'm Aaron Count with Sage Dynamics. Train accordingly.